I'm Ajit Thomas here, a faculty at Xylem Languages. First, let me start by apologizing for being late. The session was scheduled at 3 o'clock, but we had some technical issues over here, and it took us this long to sort them out. So thank you for bearing with us, and let me continue. So the tests, the English proficiency tests that are commonly heard of are IELTS and PTE and OET. And a new one that's being, or rather a name that's slowly getting popularized is TOEFL, which is Test of Fluency in English Language. You might not be familiar with the name, but actually it is one of the oldest of the tests. TOEFL was a test that was used before the other tests. Hi all, again sorry for the interruption. We had some issues which seem to persist, but looks like everything is okay for now and we can continue. So as I was saying, of all these tests, TOEFL was the one that was in vogue or in use at first, and for some reason IELTS replaced TOEFL. And my assumption at first was that this was because TOEFL was really tough and maybe the universities weren't getting as many students as they wanted, so they designed IELTS to be easier. And I hadn't taught TOEFL, and I hadn't gone through the TOEFL material either. It all seemed similar, but I hadn't gone through it in detail, so I had just assumed that maybe TOEFL was more difficult, which is why they came out with IELTS. But now that I know about TOEFL, I realize that it's the other way around. TOEFL is much easier, and let's see how it is easier. First of all, the test is just 2 hours long. The entire test, all the 4 modules are tested in one day. You don't have to reappear on a second day to give the test. And the biggest convenience is that you can give the test at home and you don't have to go to the center, though there are centers, which aren't as many as the centers for IELTS tests. But there are test centers for TOEFL as well, but you can give the test at home as well, provided you meet the conditions set by TOEFL. So for all these reasons, TOEFL is easier. Again, when it comes to reading, you just have to answer 20 questions, whereas in IELTS you have 40. So all this makes the test easier, but there are challenges of its own. For example, there are integrated tasks which test 2 skills in one question. So that poses challenges of its own. Okay, let's get into today's topic. So we are going to look at writing task 2. In writing task 2, what you're going to do is you're going to contribute to an academic discussion. And let's see what exactly is required in this task. This task gives you the opportunity to show off your clarity, logic, and engagement with the topic. So you can show how clearly you understand the question or the task, and you can show the clarity that you can bring into your answers, and you can put across the logical ability that you have, and also how well you can engage with the topic. Now, what exactly happens in the test? So there will be a question posed by a professor on a topic, and then there will be 2 students who will respond to that question, who will answer that question from their perspective. They'll have 2 differing or 2 identical opinions. Now your task is to write a 120-word answer that expresses your opinion and at the same time uses or engages with the ideas presented by the other 2 students. So your opinion this means you can either, we will get into that in detail, but this is what is required, and the time limit is just 10 minutes. And the task requires you at 120-word answer. അപ്പോൾ 150-120 words 10 minutes type ചെയ്യണം, and that is going to be challenging. അപ്പോൾ അതിന് ആദ്യം ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് you have to work on your typing speed. Typing speed ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ you will struggle with this for this second writing task. Okay. Now let's look at the strategy step by step. First thing you got to do is quickly analyze the prompt. That is, go through the question that the professor has posed and read the answers given by both the students. പ്രൊഫസറിൻ്റെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനും 2 സ്റ്റുഡൻസിൻ്റെ ആൻസേഴ്സും മനസ്സിലാക്കുക. Next, identify the main issue in the professor's question. So, professor's question, the main issue, what's the question raised by the professor? That is what you've got to identify when you read the question. After that, when you go through the answer given by the first student, note the main points there that answer the question raised by the professor. Do the same with the second student's answer. Then finally, before you start writing, this is still the planning stage, but decide on what your opinion is going to be. There can be 3 possibilities. You can either agree with one student, or you can agree with the second student, or you can disagree with both and have a third opinion of your own. So, ഒന്നെങ്കിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്റിൻ്റെ സ്റ്റാൻഡിനോട് എഗ്രി ചെയ്യുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ രണ്ടാമത്തെ സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്റ്. അതോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സ്വന്തമായൊരു ഒപ്പീനിയൻ ഇവർ രണ്ടുപേരോടും എഗ്രി ചെയ്യാത്ത ഒരു സ്വന്തമായൊരു ഒപ്പീനിയനും ആകാം. The third stage is planning your response. So you already spent a little time reading, then about 1 to 2 minutes planning, the step-by-step response, and then finally you're planning your response. So you can use a very simple structure to plan your response. You can start by stating your opinion very clearly. You can right away state your opinion. You can say that I agree with the first student, or you can say the first student's opinion makes sense. Then you can give supporting statement. For example, you can expand further on the idea given by one of the students. That is, if you're going to side with that student or even otherwise. So, I mean, if you're going to expand on it, yeah, obviously it means that you're going to end up siding with that student. Otherwise, you can briefly mention the opinion given by that student and also by the second student. That is, if you disagree with both of them. Next, you can challenge the other student's opinion. So this is what you do when you agree with one student and you disagree with the other. So in the third, this is what you can do following the first two things. You can offer a counterpoint to the first two students, the second student. Finally, you can give an example from the real world, or it can be hypothetical, meaning you can cook up or create an example which is not real. Meaningful ആയിട്ടുള്ള logical ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു example നിങ്ങൾക്ക് create ചെയ്ത് കൊടുക്കാം. Okay, next. Next thing you got to do is write with precision. So now you have just 6 to 7 minutes left. You've read everything and you've went step by step, and then you've made a plan, and to actually write you have just 6 to 7 minutes. So don't think of writing a very long answer. 120 words should be your target. And while you answer, you have to take care of the tone. Remember, it's an academic discussion, so use academic language and not informal language, and bring in variety in the use of sentence structures. Use different types of sentence structures. You can bring in the interrogative, which is the question form. You can bring in the passive voice. You can use complex sentences or a mixture of complex compound sentences. You can bring in if clauses. All that will fetch you a good score. And this is something which is also important, which is avoiding repetition. Try not to repeatedly use the same word. Instead, use a synonym. But remember, the meaning is more important. When you use a different word, it should convey the exact same meaning. If the meaning of the sentence goes wrong because you've used a different word just to ensure that you're avoiding repetition, that's far worse than repeating. Repetition just shows that the vocabulary is limited, whereas when you use a word that doesn't convey the proper meaning, it means that you don't know the word and your sentence ends up being wrong entirely. So only use a synonym if you know exactly what it means and if it's an exact synonym. And Then when it comes to vocabulary, use transitions like however, moreover, for instance. All this help to connect your ideas together. They show the relationship between the ideas, and this is very important for conveying the idea information across to the reader. And here also the examiner will understand how well you know the language. And yeah, again, stay within 120 words. So it is, your answer should be short, concise, but complete. So try to present the whole idea within those 120 words. Okay, now what should you do to get a high score? Remember, the professor's question is answered by 2 students. Please try to bring in the perspectives or the views of both the students in your answer. അതായത് 2 സ്റ്റുഡൻറ്റിൻ്റെയും വ്യൂസ്, അഭിപ്രായങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ the information from their answers should be included in your answer as well. Don't try to ignore one student's answer entirely. Second point is being specific. Your ideas shouldn't be vague or they will fail to impress. So your answer should be specific. If you say that you side with the first student, you should specifically establish why. എന്തുകൊണ്ട് എന്നുള്ളത് സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിരിക്കണം, വേഗ് ആവരുത്. You must give logical reasons with, if possible, examples to give reason why you side with one student. Again, use academic vocabulary, words like significant, impact, perspective, evaluate, and there's whole list more. So, but you get the idea. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ വാക്കുകൾ, that is the words that you will see in textbooks from higher classes, 12th and degree classes onwards. If you can use those words, then you're using academic language. Finally, yeah, എന്താ വേണ്ടേ? You must be quick at typing. So download a typing app and work on your typing speed. Remember, you have to, the whole test is just 10 minutes long. In 10 minutes you have to type 120 words, but before that you have to go through the question and the answers given by the students, then plan your answer, strategize it, and then type the answer. So typing shouldn't be an obstacle here. So work on your typing speed. Let's move on. Now let's look at example. Unless we do it ourselves or unless we see it with our own eyes, we won't understand what it is. And let me show you an example, and that will give you an idea as to what exactly happens in the test. So here is the question. Your professor is teaching a class on economics, and write a post responding to the professor's question. In your response, you should express and support your opinion. Make a contribution to the discussion. And finally, an effective response will contain at least 100 words. So though we say 120 words, the test prescribes just 100 words. So Aim for 120 words, but if you get up to 100, then you don't get penalized for your answer being too short. Okay. All right, now the actual question. I'm going to read it out. It'll just take a minute for the question to appear on the screen. So, yeah, let me remind you, the description box below has a link, and if you click on it, you can we will get in touch with you, and that's how you can get in touch with us. And further, we offer TOEFL classes here at the institution. Also, you can attend the classes online. So we offer a hybrid. We offer two possibilities. You can either attend the classes on campus, or you can attend them offline. We also do conduct IELTS, OET, and PTE classes as well. And all these are available both offline and online. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can watch many similar such videos which will help you to tackle these tests. Okay, so now that the question has appeared on the screen, I'm going to read it. The world is rapidly becoming a global village. So this is a term that you're familiar with, global village. It means it's becoming so small that it's like a village. In my younger days, we didn't know what was happening in America. Now, thanks to the internet, you know what a boy of your age in America is doing, a boy of your age in Australia, which is down under, is doing. So that is why they call the current world a global village. Okay, let me continue. A term that is, let me start again. The world is rapidly becoming a global village, a term that is increasingly relevant to multinationals alike. So this means it's relevant to multinationals also. These conglomerates, which means a combination of business entities, many businesses, unity of many businesses, development and growth encompasses all regions of the world. So the development of such multinationals are conglomerates because they are a combination of businesses. Their development encompasses means includes all regions of the world. So there is widespread belief that growth of multinational companies and the resulting rise of globalization creates positive effects for all. I hope that doesn't require any explanation. But anyway, ഇത് കാരണം, അതായത് മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽസിന് ഗ്ലോബൽ വേൾഡ് എന്നൊരു ഗ്ലോബൽ വില്ലേജ് ആയത് അവരുടെ ഗ്രോത്തിന് റെലവൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കാരണമാണ്. കാരണം അവർക്ക് പല ഭാഗത്തും ബ്രാഞ്ചസ് ഉണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ആൾക്കാർ ബിലീവ് ചെയ്യുന്നു മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽസിൻ്റെ വളർച്ച പോസിറ്റീവാണ് എല്ലാവർക്കും. Next, the professor's question says, but we must also look at the downsides. എന്നാൽ നമുക്ക് ഇതിൻ്റെ മോശവശങ്ങളും നോക്കേണ്ടതായിട്ടുണ്ട്. Now, the actual question, what do you think? Do multinational companies cause more harm than good? Oh, now, the question asks you to come up with your opinion. And it specifically asks you whether multinational companies cause more harm than good. Okay. Now what follows next? It's the answers given by the two students. But before we go any further, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്താണ് മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ കമ്പനീസിൻ്റെ എഫക്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ച് തോന്നിയിട്ടുള്ളത്? Are they beneficial or are they not beneficial? I'll state my view because you don't have the possibility of stating yours. Multinational companies let's look at local businesses first of all. Say your local grocery shop. Whatever money he makes, he spends it in the same town. So the money that you spend gets spent in the same town. It remains in the same economy. It doesn't go outside of the town. Now multinationals have head offices somewhere else. For example, Google or Amazon might have head office in America or China, who knows where. So the profits that they make in India get siphoned out or gets taken out of India. So money flows out of India, and from talking to local businessmen, what I've understood is that the situation is really dire. Situation is really bad for local businesses. A lot of them are closing down, and you just have to walk around your local town and you will see the number of shops that are lying vacant, and their numbers keep increasing day by day. So this is the downside of multinationals. I'm sure there are positives as well. I do most of my shopping on Amazon or Flipkart. I get cheaper products, maybe better quality, though I'm not certain, and it's convenient. But how many of such companies exist? And once they eat up all the small competition, won't they end up becoming monopolies? And once they become a monopoly, do you think they are going to offer you these discounts? So think about that. Okay, let's see what the students had to say. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് അവിടെ അവസാനിച്ചു. So the first student is Jim. Okay, the screen takes a bit to catch up. We're going to wait just a second for the screen to catch up so that you can also see what Jim's answer was. So there Jim is. Jim's mind or brain works slowly, so he took a while coming up with the answer. All right. So Jim says, I mean, we should seriously consider the impact in bringing new technologies and creating employment opportunities. നമ്മൾ സീരിയസ് ആയിട്ട് കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യണം പുതിയ ടെക്നോളജീസും എംപ്ലോയ്മെൻറ്റ് ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റീസ് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നതിൻ്റെയും ഇമ്പാക്റ്റിനെ കുറിച്ച്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് he says, how can you even think of skill development and economic growth without MNCs? അപ്പോൾ MNC ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എക്കണോമിക് ഗ്രോത്ത് സാധ്യമല്ല എന്നാണ് ജിം പറയുന്നത്. However, അപ്പോൾ ഇയാൾക്കും എന്തോ എതിർപ്പ് പറയാനുണ്ട്. So there it's a linking word which shows that what he is saying disagrees with what he had said earlier. Anyway, however, often multinationals prioritize their profits over social and environmental concerns. So മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽസിൻ്റെ ഒരു സ്വഭാവം അവരുടെ പ്രോഫിറ്റ്സിനെയാണ് അവർ ടാർഗറ്റ് ചെയ്യുക. സോഷ്യലോ എൻവയൺമെൻറ്റോ അവർക്കൊരു കൺസേൺ അല്ല, അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചൊന്നും അവർ ബോധേഡ് അല്ല. This leads to exploitation of labor and resources contributing to environmental degradation. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് ലേബറിൻ്റെ എക്സ്പ്ലോയിറ്റേഷനും റിസോഴ്സിൻ്റെ എക്സ്പ്ലോയിറ്റേഷനും ഉണ്ടാക്കും, ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ എൻവയൺമെൻറ്റൽ ഡെഗ്രഡേഷൻ. സോ ഇതാണ് ജിമ്മിന് പറയാനുള്ളത് പ്രൊഫസറിൻ്റെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യന് മറുപടിയായിട്ട്. ലെറ്റ്സ് മൂവ് ഓൺ ടു ദ second student's answer. So it's a girl. So it's hardly likely that a girl and a boy will agree. So again, Samantha doesn't agree with Jim. While it's true that some multinational companies have had negative impacts on society, we cannot ignore the overall positive contribution they made. So സത്യമാണ്, മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ കമ്പനീസിന് നെഗറ്റീവ് ഇമ്പാക്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട് സൊസൈറ്റിയിന്മേൽ. പക്ഷേ നമുക്ക് അവരുടെ പോസിറ്റീവ് കോൺട്രിബ്യൂഷൻ ഇഗ്നോർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നാണ് സമാന്ത പറയുന്നത്. She further adds, the presence of these companies helps to stimulate local economies by providing more jobs and increasing demand for goods. അപ്പോൾ ഈ കമ്പനീസ് കൂടുതൽ ജോബ്സും പ്രൊവൈഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്, goodsum provided. So yeah, this is one of those rare instances where a boy and a girl seem to be in agreement. I thought they weren't going to agree. Yeah, I'm also thinking of the CSR initiatives these companies take to benefit local communities. CSR initiatives are initiatives that companies take to help out the society. I forgot what CSR exactly stands for, but it, for example, down here, I think it's Joy Alukas. He runs old age homes. He ran a marathon to collect money to help out the poor. He builds homes for the poor. These are called CSR initiatives. അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊന്നും നമുക്ക് ഇഗ്നോർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. So Samantha also feels that multinationals have a positive impact. Jim, on the other hand, did point out that multinationals primarily target profits at the expense of the society and the environment. ജിമ്മിന് ഒരു ബാലൻസ്ഡ് വ്യൂ ആയിരുന്നു. സമാന്തയ്ക്ക് എന്നാൽ മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽസിന് കുറച്ച് നല്ലതേ പറയാനുള്ളൂ. പ്രോബബ്ലി ഷീ ഡസ് ഓൾ ഹർ ഷോപ്പിംഗ് ഓൺലൈൻ ആൻഡ് മേ ബി ഷീ വർക്ക്സ് അറ്റ് എ മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ. സോ ഷീ ഹാസ് ഓൺലി പോസിറ്റീവ്സ് ടു സേ അബൌട്ട് എ മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ കമ്പനി. Okay, now let's look at an answer that will fetch you a good score. So let me read. Nobody raises a doubt any longer on the ability of multinational companies to stimulate a country's economic growth. ആർക്കും ഡൗട്ടില്ല ഒരു മൾട്ടിനാഷണലിന് എക്കണോമിക് ഗ്രോത്ത് സ്റ്റിമുലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ള കഴിവിനെക്കുറിച്ച്. They bring capital, technology and the requisite skills without which rapid progress is not possible. അപ്പോൾ മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ കമ്പനീസിൻ്റെ ടെക്നോളജി ഉണ്ട്, ആവശ്യമായിട്ടുള്ള സ്കിൽസ് ഉണ്ട്, ക്യാപിറ്റൽ ഉണ്ട്, വിച്ച് ഇസ് ഫണ്ട്സ്. ഇതൊന്നും ഇല്ലാണ്ട് റാപ്പിഡ് ഗ്രോത്ത് സാധ്യമല്ല. If there is a flip side, it's only that their activities need to be monitored and regulated, but not directly interfered with. ഇതിൻ്റെ മറുവശം, flip side is the other side. Remember flipping a coin? ഫ്ലിപ്പ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ മറുവശം, ഓർ ഫ്ലിപ്പിംഗ് പേജ്. സോ ഇതിൻ്റെ മറുവശം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അവരുടെ ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസ് മോണിറ്റർ ചെയ്യുകയും കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യുകയും വേണം. പക്ഷേ എന്നാൽ ഡയറക്റ്റ്ലി ഇൻ്റർഫിയർ ചെയ്യാനും പാടില്ല. the governments need to lay down the rules of engagement and then let the market forces take their course. Governments engagement, rules of engagement എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ രണ്ട് ആൾ ഒന്നെങ്കിൽ ബിസിനസ്സിൽ ഇറങ്ങുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ റൂൾസ് ഓഫ് എൻഗേജ്മെൻറ്റ് എക്സാക്ട്ലി കം ഫ്രം വാർ ഓർ മേ ബി എ ഡ്യുവൽ, ഒരു ഫൈറ്റ്, ഒരു യുദ്ധത്തിൽ വരികയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അതിനുള്ള റൂൾസാണ്, അതിന് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന റൂൾസ് ആണ് റൂൾസ് ഓഫ് എൻഗേജ്മെൻറ്റ്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഒരു മൾട്ടിനാഷണൽ ഇറങ്ങുമ്പോൾ ആ കമ്പനീനെ ഗവേൺ ചെയ്യേണ്ട റൂൾസ് ഗവൺമെൻറ് സെറ്റ് ചെയ്യണം. പിന്നെ മാർക്കറ്റ് ഫോഴ്സസ്, അതായത് സപ്ലൈ ആൻഡ് ഡിമാൻഡ്, അതും ലെറ്റ് ഇറ്റ് ടേക്ക് ഇറ്റ്സ് കോഴ്സ്, അത് തീരുമാനിച്ചോളും ബാക്കിയുള്ളത്. Even the corporate social responsibility or CSR need not be forced. About CSR stands for corporate social responsibility. അതും നിർബന്ധമാക്കേണ്ട കാര്യമില്ല. ഇന്ന് it is forced on companies. കമ്പനിയുടെ പ്രോഫിറ്റോ ഇത്ര ശതമാനം should be spent on social work or developing the society. അത് നിർബന്ധമാക്കേണ്ട എന്നാണ് ഈ ആൻസറിൽ പറയുന്നത്. Let's see if he develops on this idea further. Only the guidelines for fair play need to be laid down. അപ്പോൾ ഫെയർ പ്ലേക്ക്, അതായത് എല്ലാവർക്കും തുല്യമായ ഒരു ബാറ്റിൽ ഗ്രൗണ്ട്, തുല്യ അവസരം ഒരുക്കുക മാത്രമേ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ചെയ്യേണ്ട കാര്യമുള്ളൂ. So I don't think MNCs can do any real harm as long as the governments are vigilant enough and encourage everybody to play by rules. അപ്പോൾ ഫൈനലി ഈ ആൻസറിൽ പറയുന്നത് MNCസിന് റിയൽ ആയിട്ടൊരു ഹാം ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല ആസ് ലോങ് ആസ് ദ ഗവൺമെൻറ്റ്സ് ആർ വിജിലൻറ്റ്. വിജിലൻറ്റ് എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ വാച്ച്ഫുൾ ആൻഡ് എൻകറേജ് എവറിബഡി ടു പ്ലേ ബൈ റൂൾസ്. എല്ലാവരെയും റൂൾസ് അനുസരിച്ച് കമ്പീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ എൻകറേജ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ MNCസിനുകൊണ്ട് ഒരു ഹാമും ഇല്ല. ബട്ട് ലെറ്റ് മീ ആസ്ക് യു എ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ബിഫോർ വി ഗോ എനി ഫർദർ. അപ്പോൾ ഗവൺമെൻറ് വിജിലൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കണം എന്ന് പറയുന്നു. ആർ ഗവൺമെൻറ്റ്സ് themselves corruption free? Then how are they going to be watchdogs for MNCs? MNCs have this huge wealth at their disposal. Won't they be able to influence the governments? Then how are governments going to be vigilant enough or vigilant at all? Aren't they going to end up favoring these MNCs? Okay, anyway, that is my personal opinion. All this you can think about when you write your answer. ഇതൊക്കെ നിങ്ങളുടെ ആൻസറിൽ ഇൻക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്യാവുന്ന കാര്യങ്ങളാണ്. ഓൾ റൈറ്റ്, സോ ലെറ്റ് മീ ക്വിക്ക്ലി go through everything once more. So you will get a question in which you have the professor presenting the topic as well as the question, and then in the question you will have two answers by two students. The students could either agree or disagree, and finally what you are supposed to do is provide your opinion. Your opinion could side with the opinion of either of the students, that is either one student or the other, or you could take an entirely different stance, but you should logically explain it out, and in your answer include the views of both the students. Don't ignore one student even if you disagree with him or her, and the answer should be 100 words minimum, but try to aim for 120 words, and you get only 10 minutes of time. And one thing you need to work on is your typing speed. work on your academic vocabulary, use linking words wherever necessary to show the connection, and yeah, what you're supposed to do is contribute to the discussion. The professor poses the question, one student answers it, and the second student also answers it. Now you have to add on to that discussion. And as I said, there's a link in the description box below on which you can click, and when you do that, we will get in touch with you and give you more information. And we have a YouTube channel in which you can get to watch more such videos, and we do have live classes both online as well as offline, where we cover TOEFL in detail, and we give you the best preparation possible. So I thank you all for attending, and with that I wind up. Okay, then.